Okay, so what if I told you there's a new way to build software where the primary developers aren't even human? And no, we're not talking theory here. We're actually going to deconstruct a real world project to see how AI is shifting from just being a tool for the developer to becoming the developer itself. So, on the surface, this looks like a textbook. It's called the Physical AI and Humanoid Robotics Textbook. And yeah, it's a cool, modern, interactive learning platform. But honestly, the fascinating part isn't what it teaches you, it's how it was built. There's a secret under the hood here that could really change how we think about writing code. So, what exactly is this textbook of the future? Well, at its core, it's a deep dive into robotics. But you've got to forget everything you know about old static PDFs. This thing is a living, breathing learning environment. It's designed to be this hands on experience that's different for every single person who uses it. Now, check out these features. I mean, an AI chatbot that acts as your tutor, hands on projects, that's all pretty cool for sure. But the one we really need to focus on, the one that really unlocks this whole story, is that last one on the list, dynamic content personalization. To really understand how this whole project was put together, we're going to put one single feature under the microscope. We're talking about the personalization engine. This is the magic that lets the textbook adapt its content in real time for every single user. So here's how it works from your point of view. It's actually super simple. First, you log in. Then you tell it what you're interested in, maybe robotics and AI, and you set your difficulty level. You click a button and boom, the chapter content just instantly changes to match what you wanted. All the while, behind the scenes, the system is logging everything. Now, a feature like this has a lot of moving parts. You've got authentication, all the UI components, state management, connecting to APIs. It's not a trivial piece of software. So the really obvious question is, who actually sat down and wrote all the code for this? And this is where it gets totally wild. The main developers on this project, they weren't human. It was a team of AI agents, all working together, coordinated by just one single human architect. This entire feature was built by AI. So, how is an AI agent different from a human developer? Well, a human relies on their gut, right? On experience and intuition. That's powerful stuff, but it can also be pretty inconsistent. The AI agent, on the other hand, it's specifically designed not to rely on its own internal knowledge. It's programmed to follow a really strict set of rules, and it has to externally verify every single step. And it may be most important of all, it records every single thing it does. The best way to think about them is like a team of junior developers who are just unbelievably disciplined. Like they have this incredibly strict employee handbook and they follow it to the absolute letter. They never deviate, they never get tired, and they never ever forget to file their reports. Right, so if you're going to manage a workforce of AIs, you need a very, very clear set of rules. This isn't just a suggestion, it's more like a constitution that governs every single action they take. Let's take a look at what's probably the most important rule of all. And this one rule just perfectly captures the whole principle. It's called the authoritative source mandate. And what it means is the AI is explicitly forbidden from just knowing the answer. It has to use tools and outside sources to find, verify, and then implement a solution. There's no guessing, no assuming, just verification. To make sure that rule is followed, the system uses something called a prompt history record, or a PHR. Think of it like a black box flight recorder for the whole development process. Every prompt, every line of code written, every decision made, it's all recorded word for word. It creates this perfect auditable trail. Nothing is ever lost. Now, building on top of that, for the really big picture decisions, there's the architectural decision record, or ADR. So when the AI gets to a major fork in the road, like, hey, which database should we use? It doesn't make the call itself. Instead, it writes up an ADR, a proposal with all the options and the trade-offs, and then a human has to give the final approval. And that's crucial. The human still drives the overall strategy. So this all sounds great in theory, but what happens when the rules just aren't enough? What if the requirements are a little vague or some unexpected problem pops up? The AI can't just guess. So what does it do? Well, the system has a protocol for that. It's called the human as tool strategy. The AI is literally programmed to recognize when it needs human judgment. So if the requirements are ambiguous, if it finds some weird dependency it wasn't expecting, or even when it just finishes a major task, it stops. It escalates the issue to the human. The human isn't there to code. They're there to provide clarity and make those tough judgment calls. So when you combine these incredibly strict rules for the AI with that really specific strategic role for the human, what do you get? Well, you get a complete philosophy for development. It's called spec-driven development. This whole framework is built on 4 key principles. First, specification first, which just means you define everything before you write any code. That leads to perfect traceability, so you can draw a clean line from an idea all the way to its implementation. Features are built to be modular and stand on their own. And, maybe the most revolutionary part, documentation isn't an afterthought. It's just automatically generated as part of the process itself. And the result of all this is pretty incredible. You end up with software that's perfectly documented, built with extreme discipline, and is 100% traceable. Now, this really matters because it could be a powerful antidote to some of the biggest headaches in software, like those mysterious bugs, technical debt, and projects that just become impossible to maintain over time. So this brings us to a final, really fascinating question. In a world where AI agents are writing the code, testing the code, and documenting the code, what's the human's job? Well, the role fundamentally shifts. It's less about being a craftsperson, writing individual lines of code, and it becomes much more about being an architect, designing the systems, defining the rules, and making the big strategic calls. The human doesn't build the product anymore. The human builds the blueprint.